Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, sitting down for my review of LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. A big thank you to WB Games for providing that early review code ahead of launch so I could take some time going through all 9 episodes, playing the Galaxy free play, letting my thoughts digest, and delivering to you all the fully formed opinion / verdict on LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. No tomfoolery here, this was one of my most anticipated games of 2022. I kid you not, it looked awesome from the outside looking in. I was already a LEGO games fan. I am obsessed with Star Wars. My favorite game of all time is a Star Wars game. So for me, the fan service, the animations from LEGO games, all the different characters you can play as, the planets that we've never been able to explore in a video game are explorable here. It just looked like a fan's dream come true. And in a lot of ways, it absolutely is that. It doesn't come without its own set of flaws, but in reinventing the system, reinvigorating the formula of what a LEGO game is, this one is, without a doubt, one of the best efforts from TT Games yet. Now, of course, with that in mind, I think LEGO games are a lot like Muso games. You know, you have your Dynasty Warriors, your Samurai Warriors, but then for those who aren't a fan of those games, but when they're for a particular IP, like Hyrule Warriors for Zelda, or Fire Emblem Warriors for that series, then people are suddenly about the Muso games, right? LEGO games function a lot like that. I think a lot of people's love for these games depends on the IP. I am obsessed with Star Wars, so know that I will be much more positive about this game because of that. It doesn't mean I won't be overlooking flaws with the game itself. I will be mentioning them. So with that, if you're new here and you're into day one reviews, consider subscribing. Now let's talk about LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, beginning with the story. So normally when I get into these things, I talk about themes and pacing and all that stuff. And it's weird because with the LEGO Star Wars story, it's the abridged version of the movie told through a bunch of Legos running around these famous planets from a series that many of us know and love. So what I want to do with this is really talk about how the story is delivered through both voice work and Mumble Mode. I want to also talk about the pace at which it is delivered to you and the difference between the original LEGO Star Wars and the one that you're playing here, because in a lot of ways, to just call this a from the ground up remake of all the original LEGO Star Wars games we got many years ago, beginning in 2005, would kind of be doing it a disservice, because I think it's more than a remake. They completely overhaul entirely what those LEGO Star Wars games were. Because when this series first started, you'd begin in a bar and you'd walk through doors and they'd load in various chapters, and these chapters would be drawn out segments of the movies where you could run through and interact with characters in ways you never had before. In this game, a lot of the story is delivered in mission points. So you'll run around these semi-open world areas and you'll find waypoints that will list a particular mission that you can activate. And then it'll load you into a mission. Sometimes it's in a confined mission space, which you're already familiar with thanks to previous LEGO games. Other times it's in the hub world itself and you're completing various tasks that will then activate the mission. It's delivered in a way that at times feels disjointed, and because of this mission structure, you'll have a lot of times where you'll be running from point A to point B only to activate a cutscene to then go to point C to start a mission. It's in those moments, particularly sadly as a diehard prequel fan, it will happen in the prequel era. That was the weakest part of the bunch, I have to say. The original trilogy is classic LEGO Star Wars. These levels are blown up, you have a lot of cool interactions, funny cutscenes. I can tell this was a game in development hell in some ways. It doesn't mire the project, but you can see where things were going and then where things were kind of getting put together as they went on the fly. And certainly in episode 1, and I swear this is not any short irony that's going over my head, yes, episode 8 is also kind of messy in that regard. Otherwise, the whole entire package works really well, where you'll have these dedicated missions and they will have these fun moments of building something to get you through a particular puzzle. However, there are a lot of times that this game really leans on the overhauled combat, and I thought this was an interesting change in pace. For many of you who haven't played LEGO Star Wars before or any LEGO game, oftentimes boss fights, enemy encounters would function as monster closets or invincible enemies that would only kill you until you figured out the LEGO building puzzle. In this game, because they completely overhauled the combat system, they go, well, you can just go up and smack the life out of them for as long as you want. You can chain combos together, and I actually dig this change. Unfortunately, there are some moments, again, particularly in the prequels, where there's very little building, and that's one of the charms of a LEGO game. They have shifted the focus from puzzles and building to more of a combat-centric game. With the overhauled combat, that's all right, but since it's not presenting much of a challenge, a lot of the combos you're going to be performing are mostly for pizzazz. Again, not a bad thing. You got to remember the target audience for these types of games, which are not man-children like me, but rather younger children who are going to be experiencing LEGO Star Wars for the first time. And that's really what I was thinking of when I was going through it all, is I love this game, absolutely. But I was thinking of the kids who will come in and play this for the first time and what that might be like. Because to me, as someone who played LEGO Star Wars on their Game Boy Advance, on their PS2, when it was this brand new idea, and the connection I developed to the Star Wars universe through that, through KOTOR, through Battlefront, this is another addition to a new generation of Star Wars gamers who will fall in love with this universe, no doubt, because of the incredible fan service, the charming animation that is packed into this game. Now, you have two options on how you want to receive this story. It can be fully voiced like many recent LEGO games are, or you can turn on Mumble Mode, which is, for those who haven't played old LEGO Star Wars games, where they just kind of let the animations do the talking. This is a good idea on paper, so people can play how they want. Unfortunately, though, you still need to read the subtitles, so you may as well just leave the voice acting on, because it's not like old LEGO Star Wars games where the animations were built around the mumble, where they couldn't speak because they were trying to cut the budget for the game. They couldn't speak, so they'd have to do funny things on screen to kind of give you sign language on what they were saying. Whereas in this game, they'll mumble, but you'll just read the subtitles, and at a certain point, it feels like you're just watching anime. It's like, I don't know what exactly you're saying, but I'm reading it, and something's happening on screen that I'm not paying close attention to. So just know that, to me, Mumble Mode came up pretty short, and I was disappointed by that because it started to put a spotlight on the lacking of animation detail and the goofy storytelling that these LEGO games are known for. On that note as well, for those of you who are older looking at this game, you will notice at times that this game is very serious. It still has a lot of comedy in it, and it's a hilarious game at that. A lot of laugh out loud moments. But there are times in LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga that there were things that would happen that I know in old Star Wars games from the LEGO series would be censored, if you will, or put in a more kid-friendly way, I guess would be the better way of putting it. And this game will just say, like, the episode 8 moment with Snoke, like, they just kind of don't do anything fun with that. And that happens a couple of times throughout the game where I realized the voice acting was really serious, and I thought, isn't this a LEGO game? What's the mindset? Again, it's those moments that I'm playing and going, you can tell this game was in development for a while, that they had a lot of visions for this game. And eventually what it feels like is the prequel had an action vision, the original trilogy is just chef's kiss, and then the sequel trilogy is just a blending of it all, and it's kind of messy, but it's still also okay. Also, because of the voice acting choice that they made, what happens is there are moments where the story's delivered to you, and like when Leia tells Han that she loves him, the way the story's delivered, it just happens so like bang, 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 so quick that it really felt weird, even as someone who's watched these movies dozens of times. It's like, where did that come from? And I think, again, this is where the voice acting hurt this game, actually. It's not the end of the world. It's something that I imagine most of you won't care about, but still, I wanted to make everyone aware and deliver my feelings through the experience to you. Let's talk about gameplay, though. I think that's the main thing a lot of you are here to learn about. Yeah, so this is where the game, I thought, really shined. You have these semi-open world hub areas. And again, as a huge Star Wars fan, the ability to run around some of these levels is just a delight unto itself. I remember playing Star Wars Bounty Hunter and running around the lower city of Coruscant and having that thought process of, man, I'd love to see this in an open world setting. I thought this would be so cool just to explore this one more time. And this game has that. This game lets you go to every planet you've ever seen in all of the main Skywalker Saga movies, and you can explore them. Dagobah, Mustafar, Coruscant, Crate even. You can walk around all of these planets. You can interact with characters, speak to them. You can have an interpret feature so certain characters can speak to certain other alien races, which I thought was a really cool bit of attention to detail. Just being in this world, existing there, interacting with characters is a level of fan service that will grab particular people very tightly and not let go. One thing that really caught me off guard is even though the gameplay cycle is very simple, where you'll be running around collecting Kyber bricks, which are what you get through getting your True Jedi challenge, through finding mini kits, which are all still in this game, you'll also find them in these open world settings where you'll complete quests to unlock some of them, you'll do platforming challenges to unlock some of them, and also now there are more different Lego types than ever before. So what you'll have is a hero, a scavenger, a scoundrel, bounty hunter, villain, the dark side, an astromech or protocol droid, and even a flex spot. And as you're exploring in the free play open world mode, you'll be able to just cycle through all these characters who can interact with the environment in multiple ways. So it's constantly feeling, for me, pretty fresh as I'm just collecting all these bricks. With that in mind, there are upgrades you can get that'll help you track down mini kits and bricks. This is where things get really messy, not even in a post Elden Ring world. I'm sorry, take a shot for every time I mention Elden Ring in a review. I apologize, but that's how dominant of a game it is. It's not even because of Elden Ring, just this game's HUD is a mess. And again, it's where you got to think of the target audience versus who's playing it. I'm 26, they're probably thinking I can figure things out, but for the mostly younger audience picking this game up, all of these directives will help them. But there are times where you have all the trackers on screen, your health bar, your stud count, your map, your quest tracker. It's like, oh my God, man. It's like a Ubisoft game on steroids. It's insane how much UI is crammed into this screen, and it can look a bit ugly in those times. When the HUD isn't smothering your screen, this game is absolutely beautiful. I've said this multiple times, and I think most people will get where I'm coming from. The animations by TT Games are downright, in my opinion, the best this industry has to offer, because these characters live and die off of these animations, right? If it is not for those quirky personalizations in each character and how they capture them within the animations, everyone's gonna look, feel, and play the same for the most part. They get it so right, time in, time out. I just need to applaud them for that. I love the animation work in the Lego games forever, and it's still fantastic in this one. Even the idle animations as they're waiting around and goofing off, it's just so charming. You can't help but fall in love with it. Now, as you're exploring these open world areas and you're completing all of these tasks, you'll be engaging with that overhauled combat I mentioned. And combat comes in different facets. You'll have your melee combat, your range combat. You'll also be in a ship at times. There's a lot of ways to approach this game, and there's so many gameplay cycles. That's why it stays fresh. The melee combat is the most fun of them all, where it's surprisingly interactive, simple yet effective, where you'll have the horizontal button, X in my case, because I did play this on Xbox, where you'll do your ground attacks. If you keep hitting away at that though, the enemy will start blocking it. You'll have to switch up your combo. You'll hit A, and A is your uppercut attack. So you can start hitting horizontally, then uppercut them, do a couple more horizontal attacks, do a slam, jump back up, hit them again. There are some meaty combo chains in this game. Unfortunately, some of the enemies are so weak that you'll kill them before you can get to that point where, again, it feels like the game's sort of handcuffing you because of who it's made for. But I loved just pulling off some sick lightsaber combos, I'm not gonna lie. It really made it much more enjoyable than the button mashing fest that was prior Lego games. Combine that with when you're playing as certain characters who are, say, ranged, and you're able to look at this through a third-person shooter perspective now, and there's cover that you can hide behind. Is it as smooth as something like Uncharted? No, but it still is amazing that it's even here on top of all the other gameplay systems that it boasts. So for me personally, I was loving it all over the place, and you start to see the little attention to detail where a ranged character will do more damage when they shoot off the helmet, and when you shoot off the helmet of, say, a stormtrooper, each of them look different, which I loved. It's like a little bit of detail there that does so much for someone like myself. And when you shoot them in the head, I know, crazy, right? Lego game. You shoot them in the head though, then they'll drop. Just little bits of detail there take this game a long way. And then you look at the ship combat, which controls well, which feels really good as it just vomits studs in your direction. It's so satisfying to play in those moments. Now, as you're collecting studs, these bricks, the reason you're doing all of this is because there is a plethora of upgrade trees. There's a core upgrade tree for your characters, which will manufacture your health, how much studs you'll get for certain things you're performing. This is where you'll unlock those trackers I mentioned earlier. There are also character type specific upgrades for your bounty hunters, your hero characters, so on and so forth. Of course, there are your power brick upgrades, although they're not really called that in this game, where a droid unit will actually hold all of these cheat codes like the stud multipliers, the super gonk droids, all this crazy stuff. And you'll not only have to use studs to acquire them, but this new type of currency called data pads. And when you find these, they're very limited around the open world, like 19 in total across all these planets. You'll find them and you'll use them alongside the studs to unlock these cheat codes. I don't know if I'm totally pushed over the edge of saying I don't really need those power bricks, because finding those through very unique challenges I thought was better than just another collectible plus studs that you're getting for every mission and just moving on with your life. But that was the intent of the design, was 100% to be a collectathon. And it's not a bloated one at that. Each of these episodes will take you about an hour and a half tops, and then you have the free play mode. So this game, for all the content it offers, feels very digestible. And you don't have to play all of these episodes in a row to unlock Galaxy Free Play. You do have to play your beginner episodes of each trilogy to unlock the subsequent ones. So you can't just hop into episode 5. You have to play A New Hope first, episode 4. But you can start Galaxy Free Play right away. And while you're doing that, you're gonna fight some bosses, for sure. Of course, you'll fight them in the story as well. But these bosses are awesome because they're multi-phase, like in previous LEGO games. But sometimes LEGO boss fights felt like stalemates, as you just wasted time for minutes upon minutes upon minutes, just waiting for certain things to be buildable, waiting for a certain animation cycle to go through. And it just felt sluggish in those moments. There was only one time, again, I'm really not messing around when I say this because I know how people feel about the movie and they know how I feel about it. But yeah, episode 8, this does happen once where it felt like a very old LEGO game in that regard. It was slow moving. You were waiting for Phasma to do her thing. And then finally you could attack. And some of those attacks were very obscure in their delivery to the player. But overall, this game was an absolute treat. The music, of course, adds everything. The voice work is awesome in some regards because, for example, the Clone Wars era is all voiced by the Clone Wars cast that you know and love from the animated show. And as someone who loves that show, that was such a treat. I thought some of the voice acting for the other trilogies was hit or miss, but especially for the prequel content, like chef's kiss. Like, they nailed it. They nailed that stuff, man. Is it a perfect game? No. Again, there are many flaws I'll happily restate here. I think some of the story moments are very disjointed as you run from cutscene to cutscene across multiple load screens on next-gen consoles. Not a big deal, but it can be frustrating. Yeah, it's very much a collectathon. The UI is absurd in this game. Some of the gameplay may get repetitive for some. Some of the Star Wars fan service may glance off of them. But for me, this game just hit everywhere I wanted it to. And as a huge Star Wars fan, I think it's a dream come true in many ways because it allows me to go to those areas, like even Luke's home, and just see what that's like and get my hands on things in there and interact with characters in there and find unlockables in there. That's what it's about with these games, is being able to explore those crevices of the universes you love so deeply and finding things and really living there. It's funny because, again, it's a LEGO game, so I know some people will scoff, but I really, really dug this game. Like, right now, it's 100% in that top 3 game of the year list. I really liked it a lot. I thought it paid homage to the right things in the movies. At times, it feels a bit too abridged because of the voice acting, where I think they could have taken the mumble and animation route. Maybe that's just me being an old man shouting at a cloud, but I don't think so. I just think sometimes the design really called for that. The combat is great. The exploration is a lot of fun and fan service ridden. The music, of course, is beautiful and the boss fights are dope. So yes, absolutely. If you're a Star Wars fan, this game goes for a buy. I don't think I see a wait for a sale here anywhere. There were no bugs. There was no crashes, no glitches. It came in pretty polished, which is really rare in my experience for review cycles. It's typically like, oh, we got some bumps in the road here, but they gave us a pretty, in my experience, polished product. And overall, if you're into LEGO games, I think it's worth a try. They've overhauled enough things here. They've provided enough content where it's worth your money. I think it respects your time. It doesn't bloat it too hard. And a lot of that extra content is opt-in worthy. So you can play it and just do all of the episodes and call it a day. Or you can go all in on the Galaxy Free Play like I'm doing and get 1,000+ Kyber bricks and just have fun with that. It's all up to how you want to approach it, but I really dug it. And in some ways for the sequel trilogy, I just want to throw out there, as someone who's not a crazy big fan of that stuff, they did have some fun with that stuff. They really did, especially Kylo Ren, the way they played with his character. I love that stuff. So all in all, Really like this game. To me, it's a buy. Give it a look. I think it's worth your time. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got to say for LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. What do you think of this review? What do you think of the game? Are you going to pick it up? Are you not? Let me know down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that, as it fuels literally all of the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.